I say, welcome to Betterbadnews.
The electrodes are being passed on to a new generation of torturers, a generation that practices compassionate torture. Look at this poor little camel. That will keep you safe.
Awful, 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 awful thing to happen to someone.
But practice makes perfect, so practice, practice, practice. It is always wise to experiment first using the household pets, the family cat or the dog, or the stuffed animal. So we train the students how to torture people with compassion.
Please.
Do you believe in one God? What is the name of your God? Speak!
But compassionate torture is not something we do, is it?
But it must be done. We are protecting freedom. Freedom! If this bear does not speak, then millions could die. The terrorists win.
If there is a hell, I am there. Hell, we are so compassionate that as a people we don't even know how to filibuster a bigoted nominee to the Supreme Court.
Filibuster. Don't seat another right-wing kook. To Judge Alito is a very bad man. The Patriot Act will be ruled constitutional if Alito is confirmed, and that's a recipe for a police state. Filibuster. Act like a country with opposition party politics. Tired of all this.
So, protesters are unpatriotic traitors. Here's one right here. Look at this little monkey. This is a traitor monkey. The population, they will give their consent to the most brutal things. Torture, surveillance sweeps, prison without a lawyer. And they will love me for it. With no charge. No charge. No, I'm holding you, but I'm not charging you. That will keep you safe.
Awful, 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 awful thing to happen to someone.
In a sweep where 90% of the people rounded up are innocent, it is a fact that the 10% who are not innocent put millions of Christians at risk.
A 10% enemy discovery rate is good. It's worth torturing 90% of an innocent population if it yields a 10% discovery rate of enemy combatants.
If you tell the people that they are under attack, the people will let you have all the power that you need to enslave them. Hermann Göring, he said that.
So, even if you have nothing to hide, your name gets on a list, and I have seen lists of names. As a sniper, I make extensive use of lists like that. So I know that at least 10% of my targets deserve to be killed. And that saves lives.
That could be any of us. If a 90% collateral damage rate is acceptable, then innocent Christians with nothing to hide have much to fear. It's a twisted form of cost-benefit analysis, and it is sick.
Any protesters, they can be detained for giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
But what if we are in the midst of a constitutional crisis? What if our system of checks and balances is being rigged to never check an imbalance? It's question time.
You realize the danger you are in? That the temperature is going up in the water. It's going up so slowly that you won't even notice it until you are dead.
Of course, a frog doesn't realize the danger he is in when the temperature of the water rises steadily and slowly over a long period of time. I love it, tasty frog leg.
Big deal. Yes, so democracy is threatened. I work hard. I am very busy. I don't know what you are talking about half the time. Isn't it time we moved on to something more modern? Like a fusion thing. Like corporate monarchy. What did he call it?
Thomas Jefferson said, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." Jefferson said that.
Is it a coincidence? First, Thomas Jefferson questions the existence of God. Then, Jefferson insists on the separation of church and state?
Jefferson hates America. Can an entire nation be so somatized it can't see what is clearly visible?
But they certainly don't seem to notice the water rising all around them.
I just don't see it. I don't know what you are talking about.
Kidnapped victims over time always come to sympathize with their kidnappers. Oh, yes. You love your torture daddy, don't you? You love your torture daddy, don't you? Don't you? He loves me. Their whole populations, they love me. Because of the Stockholm Syndrome.
You will know that Stockholm Syndrome is overtaking you when you say things like, I'd rather fight them over there than over here. If you have nothing to hide, surveillance shouldn't bother you. Stockholm Syndrome.
I don't want to have to fight them over here.
All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent.
And nobody is talking.
But look what happened to Al Gore on Martin Luther King Day. Al Gore gives the speech everybody has been waiting to hear, and the press hasn't reported it.
Big deal.
Report it? Report what? I didn't hear anything about a major speech.
Al Gore's speech seems to have caught fire on many word-of-mouth circuits using the internet to aggregate opinion and compare notes.
That speech was not heard by millions of people who would only be disturbed to hear what Al Gore said.
And the press refuses to report it.
Is Al Gore suggesting that the nation be put in danger by restricting the president's ability to frighten the population into abject, prostrate submission?
The president's too incompetent to worry about it, right? He's an incompetent boob, right?
Incompetence has always been the cover story.
Maybe he was countermanded by a higher authority.
As long as the war never ends, you will be safe.
Can an entire nation be so somatized it can't see what is clearly visible? Or is our third-rate educational system to blame for producing easily buffaloed nincompoops? Is that it?
I think the moderator is really going too far now. Never blame the victims.
Investigators who documented the pattern of torture estimated that more than 90% of the victims were completely innocent of any criminal charges whatsoever. This is a shameful exercise of power that overturns a set of principles that our nation has observed since General George Washington first enunciated them during our Revolutionary War. They have been observed by every president since then until now. They violate the Geneva Conventions, the International Convention Against Torture, and our own laws against torture.
Better bad news. Half true, more or less, 100% of the time.